Should the Mavericks really look to acquire Ben Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers? What would that mean for Kristaps Porzingis? And more importantly, time's a ticking when it comes to finding a new general manager and head coach for this basketball team. This is the Gray Area right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And you can catch you on your home of the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. Look, I know a lot of folks out there talking a lot about the idea that Ben Simmons could be a fit on the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know about all that after what happened to your man Ben Simmons against the Atlanta Hawks, where they lost in 7 games in that series to the Philadelphia 76ers, and Ben Simmons got exposed shooting just 34.2% from the free throw line and took a grand total of 3 shots in 7 games in the fourth quarter. Ben Simmons was virtually unplayable for the Philadelphia 76ers with his inability to shoot from the free throw line and his refusal to shoot at all from the floor. You saw in game number 7, my man is passing up wide open dunks to try and find shooters. And Ben Simmons, obviously, at this point in his career, may need a change of scenery at the age of 25, given the lack of success that the Sixers have had with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid as a combination. But does that mean that Ben Simmons is a fit for the Dallas Mavericks? Now, the things that Ben Simmons isn't when it comes to his offensive game, he is on the defensive end. This is a guy who's a terrific on-ball defender, an athletic wing who could get out in transition, can make plays for himself and for his teammates, but his simple refusal to shoot the basketball is going to have to be something that he addresses this offseason, whether it be getting with a shooting coach or getting with a sports psychologist, something Ben Simmons is going to have to figure out to get himself in much more of a mental state to be in a position to shoot the basketball, period. But does that mean that the Mavericks should go after Ben Simmons themselves? A lot of folks are ready to get Kristaps Porzingis about the paint, and I completely understand it. Yeah, he shot a career high in terms of his true shooting percentage this year, had over 20 points per game, had nearly 9 rebounds per game, and yes, just only 43 games after dealing with another myriad of issues when it came to knee soreness and coming back from his meniscus tear. All the things that you want to talk about for Porzingis, and then, of course, him getting exposed in the Clippers series where the Mavericks ultimately lost in 7 games. Kristaps Porzingis was rendered ineffective, only scoring over 20 points once in that series. And for Porzingis, a major offseason coming for him too, because now with the Mavericks having no general manager, no head coach, and whomever is brought in as general manager and head coach for this Mavericks team is not beholden to your man Kristaps Porzingis. So Porzingis, who is owed over $100 million over the next 3 seasons, may be finding himself on the way out the door anyway because of not only the lack of success and the lack of chemistry with Luka Doncic. Well, you say, Kevin, Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic were the most efficient pick-and-roll combination in the NBA this past season. Their fit together is awkward at best, and at times we've seen them at their apex. When you saw them earlier this year against the New Orleans Pelicans, when your man Luka Doncic dropped 46 points, Kristaps Porzingis dropped 36 of his own, going 8 of 13 from the three-point line. You've seen what they can do offensively together when they're on the same page. Unfortunately, that just doesn't happen too often. So now as you spin this forward, a team that's going to need to address certain things when it comes to not only Porzingis and potentially him moving on, Tim Hardaway Jr., who's an unrestricted free agent. You got a guy in Josh Richardson who has a near $12 million player option that he could opt into going into this upcoming season, and you may decide to trade him if he does opt in to said player option. There's plenty of decisions that have to be made for this team. You already heard rumors from Bleacher Report's Jake Fisher about the idea that the Mavericks tried to engage the Golden State Warriors at the trade deadline to potentially try and acquire Kelly Oubre from the Golden State Warriors. There's going to be a lot of that you'll hear during this offseason. And obviously, the number one priority right now for this Mavericks basketball team is being able to find a general manager and a head coach that can get everyone going in the same direction here. Whomever's brought in as general manager is going to have to bridge the gap between front office, player, and team personnel. And more importantly, that person is going to have to find a head coach that will not only accentuate the strengths of a Luka Doncic, but more importantly, develop and foster the kind of communication, not just with Doncic, but with all players on this team, to give them confidence that they're all pulling in the same direction. You say, Kevin, Jamal Mosley might be that guy because of his relationship with Luka Doncic and how close he is with him already and having an inner working of the organization as it is. You also may say, Kevin, what about Michael Finley as the general manager of this Dallas Mavericks team? Has worked with Mark Cuban for a long time, has been with this organization for quite some time, and has worked his way up where he's now the vice president of basketball operations currently for this team. And I understand those sentiments, but at the same time, you brought in the search firm in Sportsology here who is able to help you look at your situation from a 30,000-foot view and try to figure out where your stuff stinks at. Because right now, your stuff stinks. You already heard your man Sam Amick of The Athletic talk about the idea that Bob Voulgaris was very heavily influencing your man Rick Carlisle to start Boban during the Clippers series. Now, ultimately, that wound up happening, and at times it was successful, and at times it wasn't. But at the same time, whatever happens going forward for this Mavericks team after what was one of the most tumultuous weeks, if not the most tumultuous week in franchise history, by losing its general manager after 24 years, its head coach walking away after 13 years, and Mark Cuban's name being dragged through the mud, and then trying to get some good PR by bringing in your man Dirk Nowitzki, this hire for the head coach and general manager has to be right for the Mavericks, because what you've got going forward now is one of the most important off seasons in franchise history, with the amount of requisite cap space between $25 and $35 million, depending on what you decide to do with Josh Richardson and Tim Hardaway Jr. You've got an opportunity now to try and project an air of confidence and, more importantly, an air of stability when it comes to your front office and your head coaching position. Because no free agent wants to walk into a situation with the Dallas Mavericks looking at whether or not the stability of this franchise going forward, regardless of having a two-time first-team All-NBA selection in 22-year-old Luka Doncic, moving this team toward its future. You've got to be able to project that confidence for any kind of free agent going forward. And whomever that is, if the Dallas Mavericks look at guys like a Sam Hinkie, like a whomever you want to name when it comes to these general manager type of names, a Shane Battier, Adele Demps, whomever, they're going to have to come in right away. And yes, I did not forget Masai Ujiri. Now, let me give you my little 2 cents on that real quick. Masai Ujiri isn't coming to the Dallas Mavericks. The biggest reason why I don't think he will is not because your man Mark Cuban won't have the requisite bag to be able to give it to him. It's because of this. Mark Cuban is the public face of the Dallas Mavericks front office. If you hire Masai Ujiri from the Toronto Raptors, he is going to want to have full and total control of this organization. And if you're not doing so, if you're Mark Cuban, then you're not really going to have the true opportunity to be able to have the kind of front office that you want to. So whether it be Michael Finley, Danny Ainge, Dell Demps, Shane Battier, Sam Hinkie, whoever you want to name as potentially the new general manager going forward here, Mark Cuban is going to have to give up being the public face of this front office in order to make that happen. If he's capable of doing that, then Mark Cuban has a real opportunity to get someone in here, as far as the GM is concerned, to be able to make a difference going forward. Because guess what? Time's a ticking right now. You've already heard reports from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski about the Portland Trail Blazers being into the second round of interviews for Chauncey Billups and Becky Hammon. Obviously, teams like the Indiana Pacers are beginning their head coaching search with guys like Terry Stotts and also Steve Clifford. There's a plenty of openings right now. The Boston Celtics, the Orlando Magic, all these teams are looking for head coaches right now. So you might want to get on it when it comes to hiring a general manager going forward so that you can begin the process of searching for that correct head coach that's going to be working with said general manager. And you say, Kevin, well, maybe they think that Jamal Mosley is going to be the guy and they're going to take their time when it comes to being able to hire a general manager. I don't know necessarily about that. But if I had to say right now, I do believe that Jamal Mosley is the front runner to be the head coach of this basketball team. And I also believe right now the front runner to be the new general manager of this team is also Michael Finley. That may not be necessarily what you want to hear right now, because you may want somebody from the outside looking in. Because you say, Kevin, look, I don't want a puppet. I don't want Michael Finley or Jamal Mosley to be under the thumb of one Mark Cuban and things just stay the same going forward. And I understand that sentiment. But you got to give a little more credit to Michael Finley and his ability to potentially have a voice within this front office. Your man Dirk Nowitzki's already been brought into the fold as a special advisor to try and help Mark Cuban sort through all of this. But at the same time, the most important and most consequential offseason in franchise history under Mark Cuban is already underway. This is a man who already has said that he's been in meetings all day, quote-unquote, for the Mavericks trying to figure this thing out. Well, he might want to hurry up and get those meetings continued going forward because time is ticking. And for the Mavericks, there is no more time to waste knowing how pivotal this offseason is, but more importantly, how you need to get it right. So if it means taking a little bit more time to make sure you get it right, I'm okay with that. But don't take too much time because time is money, and more importantly, time is of the essence for a Mavericks franchise that is in complete disarray and trying to figure out its way forward. Are they in a better place now that things have kind of settled down a little bit? Only time will tell. We'll see. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. It's been another episode of The Gray Area. We'll talk to you later. Peace.